scroll is mine. It's nothing.
Hello, I know what you're thinking. Maul? Shadow Lord? That show? That 100% on Rotten Tomatoes? Bad show? Yeah, the intro is a little clickbaity. It's not a bad show. There's things I like about it. It's definitely has its moments, especially with Devin Maul. But this video will be more like a pro and con type of video. It's not a bad show. As I said in the thumbnail, it's a mess. It's a mess. It's got some good parts and it's got some bad parts. And this video is gonna basically say the problems I had with the show, and sort of talk about the things I liked about the show. So let me just air out the positives first. The first one mainly is Maul, is Sam Witwer. I feel like he crushed it as Maul, as Shadow Lord Maul. I think that no one can surpass the acting of Sam Witwer in terms of Star Wars characters. The fact that he did Palpatine in the Clone Wars, he did Maul in the Clone Wars, he did Maul here. He just has such a range that really just adds to his character. No hate on that Peter Serafinowicz, whatever his last name is, I can't pronounce it, who did Maul in the live action films, that he just did that one little snippet. Sam Witwer killed it. He killed it. He was good. It was great. I loved him. Second was the art style. It's still sort of the same as season 7 of the Clone Wars. It's still Bad Batch. It's still that, animation and that art style. But I feel like with Janix, with the planet Janix, the beautiful scenery, just the background, it reminds me so much of Terrace in the Old Republic for some reason. It just reminds me of that sort of landscape. And also, it really feels claustrophobic in the show. Like Maul and his like companions are constantly in sewer systems and pipe systems that feel like mazes, and it really reminded me of a lot of like Coruscant and Terrace, and how both sort of places feel claustrophobic. They feel like the whole planet is tightening around you. You feel like sort of this small person, and I feel like they really did that very well, and they sort of made the whole vibe of Janix feel great, even though it is kind of just another recycled Coruscant, kind of. It does just look like just a recycled Coruscant. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about the art style and the animation and the look of Janix. And now I want to get to the third thing that I really actually enjoyed about the show that I won't get so much into, just like how I didn't really get into with Janix. But I really enjoyed the relationship between Devon and Maul. I really thought that that was probably the most intriguing part of the show, which I feel like was what they were mainly going for, and I could tell that because the writing about like Devon's sort of path into the dark side with Maul is really good. I watched those scenes with Maul sort of like tempting her, and Daki being like, "No, don't do it. Don't go over there. Don't be a bad guy. Don't be a Sith." And you just feel very intrigued. You want to know where she goes, who she chooses. It kind of reminds you of Anakin. It reminds you of Luke. It's like this idea of, are they tempted? And then this one's kind of like a tragedy in which she is tempted into the dark side. Kind of like Anakin, where you just see kind of the tragedy of it. It's also interesting getting to see Maul open up with Devon, and her also kind of opening up with him. And so it becomes kind of apprentice and master, but also is like trying to be more like a father and daughter sort of thing, kind of. At least that's what I got from it. That it's sort of, he's like kind of lonely. He's trying to create another apprentice of his, kind of like Savage Opress, who he lost, which you also see how that affects him in the show. And both those things I really enjoyed, and that's another thing of one of the pros. That's another one of the pros of this show, which there's not a lot. This is like kind of the only list I have, and then we'll actually get into the things I didn't like about it. Okay, so last thing that I really liked about the show was the little I would say subplot in the show between work cast and the Mandalorians, the other sort of Mandalorian team for Maul in the show, which I really liked, because it was like the little subplot where they are kind of getting fed up with not being paid, and they kind of getting fed up with how like the plot, how Darth Maul is now just kind of in the dumps, and they have nowhere to go, and they're like surrounded by the Empire, and they're just like, where is our money? Where's our money? Get us our money. We don't want to be here, and it ends up with, as you remember, hopefully you've seen the show, because I haven't given a synopsis, so you're not gonna know what the fuck I'm talking about. But you've watched the show, so you know exactly what I'm talking about, where the Mandalorians want to be paid, and they haven't been paid, and then they steal a ship, and then they die. And I thought that was a pretty cool moment. I thought it was just a little funny side thing that I liked. Okay, finally, we are going to talk about the issues that I have with the show, because I have a lot, and sorry for taking up a lot of time not talking about the issues, because I know if you're clicking on this video, you just want to know the problems I have with the show, not the things I liked about it. So now I'm going to talk about the first one. And the first problem I have is the pacing and the runtime, both. The pacing and the runtime. Because every episode is only 24 to 30 minutes, which I think just isn't enough for the amount of characters on the screen. There are basically major characters, like we have Devin, Daki, Lawson's son, kinda. We have Maul. We have Rook Cass. We have all of these characters that create kind of an Andor story, where there's like huge bunch of characters, like main characters, for like this connecting plot. But the reason why it works for Andor and that it doesn't work for this show in particular is the runtime. It's way too short of a story with so many characters and new characters that you have to create development and growth of this character when you're only giving him like 2 to 3 minutes an episode to actually shine. Sometimes characters like Vario, for instance, shine. You really seem to like enjoy their presence in the show, and they seem to have some good characterization in terms of who they are, their motives. Vario isn't really a complicated character. He's kind of just like a greedy, knows how to survive underbelly criminal. Like, he's not that complicated as a character for a 24-minute show to do him wrong, But when you're making someone like Lawson, which you're trying to make him, he's a new character, and you're trying to make him likable and understandable and emotionally relatable, but you also have Maul and Devin and Daki, sometimes some of the characters just fall through. They don't do well in terms of likability and relatability. And personally, to me, that's how I felt with watching Lawson. I just could not relate to him or enjoy the scenes that he was in, because I just felt like he was underdeveloped. Like, I just did not enjoy the scenes that he was in. And I feel like because Andor had 56 to an hour-long episodes, you were given like 15 to 20 minutes of characters growing and developing. You had new characters. You had like constant new characters being brought up, So why not, if you're going to do a show that's 24 to 30 minutes long, why not just pick 2 characters? Just do Devin and Maul. Do them justice, make them two complicated, complex characters with a complex relationship between the two. Why add more? Why add more? Do Knights of the Seven Kingdoms have one or two main characters, and then the rest are like supporting roles that give some screen. They're not like too complex. They're not trying to be main characters. They're just off the side. So you can really add to your main two characters. Why couldn't they just do that instead of adding as many characters as they could into a 24-minute runtime episode? I just don't get it. Now for dos problem I have with the show is the acting. It's the acting. And I'm going to tell you, it's not all of the actors. Most of the actors, Devin, Maul, again, as I said with Sam Witwer, fantastic. They all did really, really good. And especially with Devin and Maul, I believe them as the characters. But Lawson, on the other hand, is weird because this is like 100% subjective. I mean, all of these takes are really subjective. Maybe just not the runtime. That one, I think, objectively, is true that the runtime hurts the show. But anyway, the problem with the acting with Lawson is that maybe it's just me, but whenever I was watching it, a second time, and, when I was watching it the first time, I kept on noticing that he would mumble sometimes. Like just the volume of his voice would drop at the end. Like I could barely hear what he said at the end of the sentence. And personally, to me, I don't really like that. When I'm watching a show, I want to be able to hear each word pronounced well. And if I can't really hear you well, and your voice is sort of mumbling at the end, I just can't really enjoy that. And I thought, oh, this is his voice is doing this. And when I first watched it, I was like, oh, I hate his voice. I can't stand it. His voice acting. And I watched it a second time, and I realized my TV was the one doing that. For some reason, the TV fucking ruins the volume, so it's like constantly like going up and down. So that was I like wrote an entire movie script of notes talking about how I hated this actor's performance, this voice actor's performance. It's like Wagner Mora or something like that. I thought, oh, this guy is just terrible in this. But then I realized he's not terrible in this. It's my TV. So that was this whole part. The acting part was mostly going to be about Lawson. But, Lawson isn't bad at all. The voice actor did a tremendously good job. So I'm just going to put this part here to say that the acting was good. I have no complaints about the acting. Daki. What do I want to say about Daki? Daki is one of the most infuriating characters in the show. I cannot stand him. Seeing his face annoys me, infuriates me, makes me want to scream in my pillow. I hate him. He is the most boring, bland Jedi I have ever seen in a Star Wars show. And I mean that. Even after watching something like Ahsoka was that sort of, just like Ahsoka from the original Clone Wars film, she was really annoying, and I still cannot really watch that film and not get kind of angry when she's on the screen. And Daki sort of is that same sort of thing, but Daki is the opposite. Like, Daki just does nothing. And I really mean that in the plot. He really just, like, after the first episode, which I'd say the first and second episode are the best episodes in the show. After the first and second episode, he just shows up sometimes, fights some people, tells Devin not to trust Maul, and then just leaves. And then allows Devin to be in Maul's custody for, like, most of the show. He doesn't really do anything in terms of real progress into like making sure that Devin isn't in the hands of Maul. From what I remember of watching the show. I think with Daki, it really is just that he's not in a lot of the show. Like, when I mean he's not in a lot, he doesn't voice a lot of scenes. Like, he's in the show a lot, just kind of in the background with the characters. But he doesn't really talk a whole lot. At least when I was watching the show, I just didn't really see a whole lot of scenes that went into who he was as a character. You know, who is Daki? We don't know who he is. We don't know what he was like before Order 66. We don't know anything really about who he is. We just know that he's a Jedi, and he's basically just written into the show to be kind of like the angel on Devin's shoulder, but an incompetent angel that does his absolute worst at stopping Devin from turning to the dark side. And that's kind of my point with this part of my critique or my rant, is that Daki just kind of hurts the show for me. Like, he's just bland. He's bland and he's boring, and I cannot watch the show with him, just like I can't watch the Clone Wars movie. Now again, I want to specify that this is subjective. If you like Daki for whatever reason, I don't know how you could, but if you do like him, let me know why. You know, because this is also like, it's been like a day after watching the show, so I don't remember a whole lot. So if I'm wrong about Daki, and he's actually an amazing character, and he has a bunch of scenes that I just forgot about, let me know in the comments. I really want to be wrong about him, because I want to be wrong that this show just isn't for me. Because I wish that it was for me, and maybe I just have to watch it 4 more times to actually enjoy it. But yeah, anyway, let me know if I'm wrong about Daki, and let me talk about the next problem I have. Okay, we're almost to the end. Okay, please keep on watching, or maybe don't. You can stop watching now if you don't want to. But here's my next gripe with the show: the Inquisitors. They are very, very inconsistent. You know, they are very inconsistent. They'll be unable to beat, and Maul will be unable to beat the 2 Inquisitors, while Devin, who is a Padawan and is much less of a challenge to Maul, will be able to also keep up a fight with the Inquisitors. So it feels rather weird, because I know that Maul has a broken leg during the scenes where he's fighting. I understand that. But if Maul, like 20 years later in Rebels, can defeat 2 Inquisitors during that scene in that Sith temple, then he should be able to beat them when he's like 20. You know, he's like, I think he's like around 20 during this show. And yes, his leg isn't working that well, but he should still be able to like beat Inquisitors who have been known in canon to be underpowered by Palpatine and Darth Vader, just so they don't, they don't get too powerful. So if these these literal underpowered Padawan, like they used to be Padawan, Inquisitors cannot beat Maul. They can't kill Maul, but they can kind of overpower him, which is weird to me. But if they can do that, that's very confusing, because that basically says that Maul is at the equal, or is about, as good as barely trained Padawans, that are basically underpowered by Palpatine. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and to say that Maul and Devin have the same, even though, yes, I know, Devin is going, I think when she's fighting the Inquisitors, it's after her masters died. I understand that she has the dark side. She should be a little bit more powerful now because she's using the anger. But still, if they're basically her using her anger is at the same equivalent as Darth Maul, that is a little confusing, because she shouldn't be as powerful as Darth Maul is, and the Inquisitors shouldn't be able to defend themselves well against Darth Maul, even if he is even if his leg's broken. Am I crazy about this? I don't think I am. I think it's a little confusing that Darth Maul can't just easily kill an Inquisitor that, by the way, was killed by Ahsoka in about 5 seconds with bare hands. So I don't think I'm crazy about this. The Inquisitors don't make sense. And, this is even out of the show weirdness, because they've never made sense in any of the shows, because they're either really, really easy to kill or weirdly hard to kill. And there's never a consistency with the Inquisitors. And it makes me go insane. Just, are they easy to kill, or are they not easy to kill for a grown-up Jedi Master or a Sith? Make it consistent, I guess. That's all I want, with the Inquisitors. That's another issue I have with this show. Okay, now it's time for the last problem I have with this show, which is the plot. And I'm gonna really only talk about one part of the plot that I just don't really understand, which is the fact that Shadow Lord, quote unquote, Maul gets outed in the first episode. That doesn't really seem like he's being a Shadow Lord, that he's being sneaky, because he literally gets outed by the local government, the local authorities, which they had to make some character like Lawson who doesn't like the Empire, just to not have the Empire at their door, the second. But it's a little confusing to me, because you're making the show that's supposed to be about him creating this ring, the shadow ring of, connected crime syndicates, like a crime syndicate. And you're making this show about him making crime syndicates in the shadows, but he constantly fights out loud with people he's also there fighting people. And you would think, wait, this person that's supposed to be sneaky, he's just actively going into battle loudly and proudly, showing people his face. Yes, I know it's cloaked, but if you've seen the show, they have fucking holo cameras. They can basically scan a 3D image of your entire body and everyone can know who you are. So why take that risk? If you're making a show about someone that doesn't want to be caught, why do you get him caught in the first episode? It doesn't make sense. The first episode and the second episode is still good, but don't call it Shadow Lord Maul when he's not even in the shadows. And there's no way you could fucking tell me that I'm wrong about this, because how is he still not found out? If you can tell me how he's still not found out and caught, as a Shadow Lord in the first episode, then I'll just hang up my my fucking channel and just stop trying to make videos, because I must be in the wrong universe or something. I must be going crazy. Because I really just don't understand why this show isn't trying to actually be sneaky. It's just sort of full frontal assaults, you know? Like, it's guerrilla warfare. I know it's technically trying to be guerrilla warfare, but it's loud, right? It's very, very loud, and the main guy that's trying to hide himself, you know? Because again, the show already states in the show that the second that they find Maul on a planet, it's fully blockaded. It's like anytime Maul is found out by the Empire, they want to send an entire fleet there to stop him. You know, they want to send Maul there. I mean, sorry, not Maul, Vader. They want to send Vader there. It's like a whole thing. If that's the case, why is he doing these assaults and these things with himself present so that he could be caught by cameras? You know, why is he doing this? I don't know. Just that to me doesn't make any sense. None of that makes sense, and you can't call the show Shadow Lord Maul because or Maul Shadow Lord. Sorry, I've been saying it wrong. I just don't understand it. That's all I really have to say about the show. If anything I've said you find wrong, please tell me in the comments why I'm a idiot about this stuff, because I hope I am. I hope I'm a big dummy for most of the stuff I'm saying. But yeah, okay, that's all. Bye.